Thank you, Caleb, for taking time out of your day to talk to me on my third episode of my podcast, Let's REI.
Time's a charm, isn't it?
Third time's the charm. Yeah, you reached out to me. I was like, wow, Caleb wants to talk to me. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I've kind of, I don't think we've talked before. We've messaged back and forth a little bit because I downloaded one of your spreadsheets and I needed some help with it. You pointed me to a YouTube video for training that was pretty
Yeah.
really helpful.
Shoot, man, I need to relaunch that spreadsheet for sale.
It's good, man. It's really good. I love it.
I will say, for those who are in sub two, that thing is free. So you just get in. If you're a sub two member, you've already paid to join. This is just one of Caleb's. Like, I promise, this is free to sub two members forever. You just search Caleb Christoper Seller Finance Calculator, and it's in there, and it's got a 5-minute video instructions. And I designed that when I was working as a lead manager under another sub two student, because I needed to be able to adjust creative numbers on the fly to be able to tell a seller what would work
right.
when we're talking it. So that I built it for that, and I made it so that it was just dead simple. I don't want it to analyze everything.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And, it puts out like a nice finished product. You can just cut and paste it into like a Word document and put your kind of,
Yep.
proposal together. I really like that. So, well, that's awesome. I'm sure people would buy it, dude.
We've sold a couple copies of it, but I don't have a website up for it right now. I had one for a little bit. You have too many lines in the water, and it's like, if I can't do it well, I should shut that down.
Yeah.
And so if I just make it a simple thing, here's a calculator and 2 hours worth of training videos, and it's the easiest calculator you'll ever use for creative finance calculation, thumbs up. I should just
I kept coming back to it. Yeah. I was doing some coaching with Creighton Bertrand over the summer. And he's like, one thing he wanted me to do is just get used to underwriting and just do 100 properties. So
Yeah.
that was, if I found something that I thought would work, then I used your spreadsheet to kind of get more details out of it, and do that.
But this came up because I just did an underwriting session for a wholesale team today.
Yeah.
One of the guys was like, just show me how to underwrite creative deals. I don't know what's a deal and what's not. And I said, well, unfortunately, I can just give you a shortcut. Most are not deals. But beyond that, I've got a process. And so I worked on a flow chart recently, too. I've got a little step-by-step diagram. I'll put up the screen share for a moment so you can see what I'm talking about.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
But continue on.
Yeah. So I guess one question I wanted to ask you is, I know you've been in sub two for a while, right? Like, when did you first join, and like what led you to join sub two?
Man, so I became an accidental landlord, which is when you can't sell your house and you have to rent it out instead of selling it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't know much about real estate. I knew real estate was good. Became an accidental landlord, moved into my new house. Then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and what a waste of time. I wasted so much of my life not buying houses. And so I was like, thank God I didn't sell that house. And then I found Bigger Pockets, listened to all the Bigger Pockets while I was mowing yards and working on stuff and saving up from Rich Dad Poor Dad, saving up to buy a rehab house. And I knew all the answers on the Bigger Pockets podcast because I learned like that. I just absorb everything, and I read, and I bought their calculator, and I was underwriting and testing on market things, knowing they wouldn't work, but just getting in the reps, hundreds of reps of just analyze this one, analyze this, what would make this one work. And then I found Pace Morby when I was done with Bigger Pockets, and I was like, oh, take my money. Like thinking outside the box. I already think outside the box. I'm like a solution creator. I love variability in my daily job duties. Give me different problems every day, please. And so creative finance, I was like, oh, I just need a little bit of guidance because that's the stuff I already want to do. I just didn't know how to do it. So yeah, I joined real fast.
So Pace resonated with you for sure right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People say think outside the box, and I'm like, how about there is no box?
Yeah, that's the same way. I've only been in sub two since last January, and I went through the Bigger Pockets route as well. And it's a lot of good information there, but at the same time, a lot of it is very sort of not as many details as what you're going to get from someone like Pace, who's going to show you exactly what you need to do, and all the contracts are there, and there's hundreds of hours of Zooms to watch. And
yeah, and I did the same thing. I watched hundreds of hours of Zooms. I got my flip property around the same time I was getting in. And so because we were using Kajabi, I think we still do, but on Kajabi, you can't turn your screen off while a video is playing.
Right.
So I watched almost the entire vault, mostly listened to it with earbuds while I was working on my flip property. And I just had that phone in a pouch. And sometimes I had to have a battery pack with it, but I just consumed content.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I did that while painting the interior of my house. And yeah. Crazy.
And I remember all the old answers on what to, and so eventually you got to take action. So, I mean, my story goes from taking action, getting a flip, and joining Sub 2 because I was going to lose my full-time job at the time. I was like, okay, I'll switch to my flip being my full-time job. Then, long story short, my job didn't end, and now I've got a job and I've got a flip, and that's terrible because I budgeted for the flip for me doing all the work instead of contractors, and so that didn't work out very well for me.
What was your job at the time?
I was IT sales rep / engineer.
Okay, yeah.
So IT and cybersecurity. I got a bachelor's in cybersecurity at that time as well. So lots of stuff going on. I've always had 2 or 3 things going, and 8-hour workday is not a thing for me.
So you got in Sub 2, you started doing deals, buying properties, and I know at some point, maybe it was around the time when you made that video for your calculator, and you had this date in the future. You were gonna leave your W-2 and go full in on transaction coordinating. So what was that like, and what led you to that, and what was that transition?
Well, I needed to be able to focus on the thing and push through. And so transaction coordination came up. Like I started Creative TC because when I did, I went and took action. I joined somebody else's team and did lead management for them. And I only wanted to touch the creative deals. And so that's when I produced the calculator, and I gave back to the community and trained what I could. And then I got my first couple of creative deals, and taking them through escrow was like, who's in charge of this stuff? I thought the title company was going to be in charge and have the documents we needed, or at least know what to do. And if you've been through it without a coordinator or some sort of advisor on board, even the old pros at the time were like, man, we use the top templates we got. I'm like, this is not okay. Not okay for me as a buyer or a wholesaler, and definitely not okay for the seller because we're not doing the right paperwork. This is not being done right. And I know some of the things that we're being told to do and documents we're using are not legal. We're asking notaries to leave blanks on forms and blah, 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 just compounding myriad problems. And I'm like, this cannot stand. It cannot be what's being done. I cannot believe that. And I asked in the group, and I said, who's got SOPs for transaction coordination? Nobody either did or would share. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go figure this out. And I called Pace and said, I'm going to figure this stuff out, and I'm going to start a company to do it, and I'm going to work other people's deals. I don't have the cash to go do 200 deals, but I know 200 people who have deals who will let me run it for them for a small fee. And that's how I'm going to get my exposure to all the different things. I will figure things out. I'm smart and I'm risk averse. Yeah. I'm conservative. I come from cybersecurity and risk management. And so if you want somebody figuring this stuff out, it's me.
It's you for sure. For sure. I mean, I've read several of your posts, and you definitely seem to have the real background in like the legal part of things. And I noticed on your website too, like one of the services you call out is that you will you'll work on like do on sale clause remediation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty unique, I thought. So have you had to do a lot of those, or like any?
Yeah. And when I look back, not a single one of them has been a transaction we've closed. And knock on wood, part of that is luck, but also we've got really solid docs and we coach people through the process. So Creative TC stands for Creative Transaction Consultants, not just coordinators. And so coordination is like, this is what we do coordination wise, which everybody does. But then we start asking questions. So what role do you play in real estate? Are you a wholesaler? Do you do any of that? Are you a buyer or what?
No, I'm doing buy and hold now. I started off doing some PMLs.
Do you buy any Sub 2 deals?
I haven't yet. The only deal that I bought so far is with an SDIRA. Partnering up with someone now, and we're going to start buying Sub 2 deals in Texas from looking at that as split opportunities. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, there are so many options of what you can do. And that's kind of the problem is most people think very linear. And when you think linear, you think start to finish. And that's the problem with title companies is they're thinking linear toward a finish line. Their finish line is close of escrow. And I'm like, you guys, that is just the starting point for the person whose journey is to own and operate that property. And so, especially when you've got an A to B to C transaction, and especially if party C, your investor buyer, is going to wrap it to party B, what you put in the contract on day one limits what they can do 45 days from now. And so you have to think that far ahead, and you have to ask, especially as a wholesaler, the person has to think, who's my buyer? And if my buyer is a reseller, who is their buyer? Because I have to learn to underwrite for their buyer. And that's what I was teaching today to the wholesale group. I said, your clients, I'm going to call them clients, your buyers are going to appreciate you if you understand their dilemma. they have to be able to operate the property. And a lot of times they want to be able to resell it. And so you can't put a 5-year balloon in on most of these deals. I don't care if that's what closes the deal. You just limited your buyer pool significantly because nobody wants to do a 5-year balloon if they're going to turn around and wrap it to an owner occupant. And for those who don't understand, there are rules about balloons for consumers. And if I'm selling to a consumer, I can't be throwing balloon payments in on those loans. And so
with the wrap, it's gonna be like a homestead buyer, right? For wrap, yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. Now, if I know I'm selling to an investor buyer, that works just fine. But people haven't thought through all that stuff, and I wouldn't expect you to because there's so many variables. And that's why every deal with Creative TC as consultants is like a mini mentorship.
Yeah.
And we'll turn a deal on its head by the time it's done very often until somebody's a regular and has worked with us and learned enough things, like even old pros. Somebody added me to some text groups and other things like that. And I'm seeing OGs asking questions OGs should not be asking.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you guys need to run some deals with me. You don't have to use me all the time. I know I'm expensive. That's on purpose. That's a filtering mechanism, but you're cheating yourself. You're cheating your buyers and your sellers of the knowledge and experience that you need to be safe and effective. You just need to come work with my team a few times, a couple times a year, something like that.
Well, it sounds like it'll save people money in the long run, right?
Oh yeah. I've got a guy in California. He's like, listen, you are way too expensive on anything other than creative deals, but on creative deals, the mistakes you've saved me, the knowledge you've helped me to be better on the future deals is worth it. And hands down, I will not consider anyone else for my creative deals except you. He said, cash deals, I'll use anybody I want. I've got people who are way cheaper. No problem. I'm not bringing my cash deals to you. And I said, good, because I don't want those.
So with your business, I mean, that's pretty unique that you offer the remediation service. What other kind of services do you offer?
I think one of the most interesting services, which I'm okay if it doesn't scale because it's not super profitable, but it is an interesting service. If you care about anonymity, have you heard of a nominee signer?
I have not.
Okay, so you nominate somebody else to sign on your behalf. So if you have a perfectly anonymous LLC and you're the manager, not even the member, you're the manager, what happens when you sign a deed of trust or closing documents and they go to the county?
They can see your name and put two and two together.
Your name is now publicly associated with that LLC. See, busted. Guess who that happened to?
You.
Me.
How did you
You can't undo it. Once it's done, it's done. And so once you bust privacy for an LLC, it's done. So if you actually care about privacy, you can never sign a document. You have to hire somebody else to be the manager, or you have to appoint somebody. That can be me or my company. It can be your cousin. I don't care. It just has to be somebody other than your name being affiliated with your LLC on public record every single time. And that includes purchase contracts, because purchase contracts can and do become public record, especially if you do a memorandum of contract.
So does that person, are they treated as an employee of your company or a contractor, or how does that work?
So
since in the signing,
let's just say you're my signer, right?
Yeah.
I want anonymity and my company is Creative Acquisitions LLC. Then I want to do a purchase contract. I'm going to hire you and say, Jamie, will you sign as an authorized signer? Now there's paperwork to back that up. I'm going to engage you on a work agreement where you're authorized to sign things that I tell you to sign, only things that I tell you to sign. But my LLC is going to do a resolution to appoint a nominee signer. We're going to put your name in the blank, and then we're going to have an agreement, a contract between you and the company that for this fee, every time you will sign documents, you will not obligate yourself toward any loans, no personal guarantees, no blah, 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 blah. If there's a personal guarantee, I would make that a separate carve out that does not go on the public record deed of trust. And then I would sign that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But then it's my responsibility to read closing packets and all this other stuff and then forward them to you and say, I've read and approved this. Please sign it so I can move forward. And then you would sign Jamie Stone, authorized signer for Creative Acquisitions LLC.
That sounds like a pretty sweet gig for someone to just sign some documents.
Yeah, if that was my only business model and I did signatures all day, every day, that would probably be pretty profitable. But it's one of those.
You can sign your name, you can get paid. Yeah,
that's true. Exactly.
Kind of people.
Yeah, you got to be able to take notary appointments too, because I've done notary signings where they've sent them out to my house, and I said, you better check everything. I want you to approve the version that they're going to travel out here with.
Yeah. Oh, that's very unique as well.
That's the nominee signature service. So that's probably the most interesting service. The due on sale is the most like when you need it, there is no one else to turn to. Come here.
Yeah, because that's the boogeyman, right, of sub two, and
Yep.
yes, and I don't know what the frequency with which it happens.
Yeah, I mean, we close 50 deals a month, and my team hasn't seen a single one come back of ours.
Yeah,
Other people's deals we've seen come back, and I'm the due on sale guy, right? People tag me in Facebook groups all over the place when there's a due on sale, and we've solved it. Not only have I solved it several times myself, but now my team solves it without me even knowing. Hey, like due on sale remediation comes in, and I just see evidence that a ticket got started for support on that, and then it gets done, and I see the resolution ticket come through my email queue, and I'm like, great job, guys.
awesome.
And I check
Is there
the work, and
generally
they've done a great job.
like a particular strategy that works there that you found, or is it could be any kind of mixture of strategies for whatever the lender?
It's that cascading variables thing. It's not linear like everybody. That's my problem with people who want to just bring a one size fits all solution. The trust is a great solution plenty of the time, but not all the time. In fact, there was a due on sale triggered because somebody put it in a trust because of the type of loan it was. So I care about who's involved. Is the seller still available? Because I would always prefer natural signatures to power of attorney signatures. But if we have to, we can do power of attorney. But you can avoid a lot of future. Remember, I'm always looking down the line. Can we fix whatever the heck we want with signatures right now with power of attorney? Sure. But how does that look 3 years from now?
Mm,
Right? If I can get the seller's participation, I'm going to. And so this is an active, ongoing consultation between you and me. And if I engage the bank, great. I'm happy to engage the bank and negotiate a stall, a delay, whatever. I also don't want to take a willy-nilly action that the bank is not going to accept. And so what I like to do is get it in writing via email. I'll have a phone call and I'll say, but I'm going to send you an email and let's confirm what we just talked about because I need to move forward with a confirmed plan of action because it's going to start costing money. We're going to be spending money to do this. And I want to make sure that you and I are on the same page, bank. So my plan is to boom, boom, boom. And I get them to say yes in writing. That way they can't say nope after the fact. I have it in writing from one of your representatives that this is an acceptable solution.
that's
And so it's all those little things that add up to resolution being efficient and final.
yeah,
So sometimes just deeding it back to the seller and holding an unrecorded deed. But when you do that sort of stuff, yes, that is a solution. But from a risk management standpoint, guess what? Now it's in John Smith's name, and all the wholesalers are going to be calling and texting John Smith, can I make a cash offer on your house? What if he's forgetful? What if he's spiteful?
right.
What if he enters into a purchase contract with one of those people and you're just holding a deed quietly and you don't know about all these conversations he's having with cash? And he's like, oh, I could actually probably sell that for cash. Screw that guy. And just go into, and you don't even know until suddenly it's recorded into somebody else's name. And what recourse are you going to have? Not a whole
Yeah,
lot. So there's so many little things to manage about. Yes, anybody can solve it, but who's really going to bring us a true solution?
yeah. Well, I hope I never need you. But if I do, I know who to call.
And that's the point is I want you guys to understand that there are solutions. It's not willy-nilly fast and easy stuff necessarily. Not every time.
Wow, that's awesome. Cool. Let's see. Well,
I'll also
wait,
say this.
yeah.
So we've solved due on sale enough times that now I've had this idea for a long time, due on sale insurance. And I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I didn't want to do it until I had actually resolved in good conscience, feel that I could resolve way more due on sales. And so I started a company called DOSGuard, due on sale guard, and that's DOSGuard.io. And we're offering to sell a due on sale guarantee
Okay.
for lack of a term that I don't want to be regulated for.
Right.
So it's a due on sale guarantee and DOSGuard provides that at closing. It's a one-time fee. And then if due on sale happens, we'll fix it. It's already prepaid.
Oh, wow. Does anything like this currently exist in the market? Or are you like fine?
Somebody tried it a long time back and they went out of business fast. Pace Morby talked about them. People flocked to them and then something went wrong and their company went under fast.
So is that your next thing that so I think I saw a post from you recently where you could see your team is kind of set up, they're firing on all cylinders, and there was a next sort of phase that you were moving towards. I forget what that was, but can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I've got a team of 13. They're operating and I hang out in the virtual office. We're in Zoom right now and I hang out in the Zoom office with them and pop from room to room. We'll have multiple breakout rooms, but they're running and they really don't bring me any questions anymore, which is, I thought about it this way. Somebody brought me one of the really weird questions and I was like, whoa, this is a mind bender. Who got themselves into this situation? Anyway, we get done resolving it. And I was like, why am I getting such crazy questions from you guys? Well, that's because they can answer everything but the absolutely extreme craziest. And so my team is operating at a level above most of the experienced OG sub 2 operators. My guys can answer stuff independently without Caleb's involvement. And I'm like, I've done it. This is great. We're operating. It's a self-churning machine, and all I have to do is pump marketing dollars in to turn out deals on the other end. And my team can work them, which means I'm also free to start this second company. And so DOSGuard is now launched as of November, and we're selling due on sale guaranteed.
Nice. And is this only for the deals that your other company have worked on, or
Right now, so yes, and I'm working on a TC certification program. So DOSGuard is only going to sell through certified partners because we want to make sure this is my opportunity, because Caleb cares about risk management. Caleb cares about ethics and the right paperwork and education for people. So I'm only going to certify people who pass my own ethics exam. I'm only going to certify people who take a test that they can actually fail in order to become DOSGuard certified. So DOSGuard certification is going to be a premier elite level certification for TCs who really show that they understand creative finance forward and backwards. They understand real estate, not just creative finance. They understand the ethics of these transactions and how to do them with the right paperwork. And so they're going to be supplied with my tools and training and a certification that says that they really are top notch.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Because I'm not willing to ensure that those transactions won't get due on sale if it's not worked to my standards. And my standards are right here. And I've had plenty of debates about where the standard should be for transaction coordinators. But
Yeah.
this is my chance to set that standard again.
Nice. So you're gonna get this other business up and firing on all cylinders too. Cool. What's your 5-year plan for this company?
Ooh.
How big do you want to make it?
Yeah, I think within 1 year, all my operating procedures should be, this is going to be more of a sales organization, sales and training. It's going to train the operators who work at TC companies, and it's going to take orders in. But fulfillment is mostly probably going to be through Creative TC, who's proven that they can do the due on sale remediation. And it's not because I've proven it. I've done several, but my team has now done it on repeat. And so the team themselves have proven that they can fix due on sales. DOSGuard will sell the due on sale guarantee. And then if and when it comes in, Creative TC will consult on those to get them resolved. That 5-year plan, I mean, I think we're going to be stabilized and just scaling sales by training more people through by the end of 2025. And I'll be starting or buying the next company.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm sure you'll have a steady stream of customers from sub 2 loans.
Yeah. And so right now we're only doing DOSGuard into deals that are closing. But once we've stabilized that path and process and got a member portal and all those things set up, then we'll look back at previously closed transactions, start selling to those for those people who want that.
Great. That's amazing. So you have 13 employees right now. So yeah, you're providing a livelihood for a lot of people right there.
Yeah,
Well,
and actually,
you gotta be really rewarding for sure.
that's one of my objectives, and I don't bear the burden lightly of, basically it's my job to provide for multiple people's families, not just my own.
Yeah.
And that's not a duty to carry lightly. And so I don't want to play games with that. I tend to be conservative in what I'm pushing for. Sometimes I have to push myself to be more aggressive because a risk could hurt all those other people if we don't do things right. So one of my objectives, though, actually my guiding light, is I want to provide a steady income for 100 people by building or buying a portfolio of companies that are known for excellence in what they do.
Yeah.
So it's like fulfilling work and stable income for people. And I don't use VAs. I hire people, and they're brought into our culture, and they're part of the team.
What state are you located in now? I think you were in Illinois before, is that right?
No, I've always lived in Kansas.
Oh, Kansas. Okay. For some reason I thought you were in Illinois.
Kansas and Illinois have a lot of cornfields both.
Yeah.
Cool. So does Nebraska.
Yeah. So what advice would you have for like a new investor just joined sub 2, they open up Kajabi and are immediately overwhelmed with all the information? They go to the newbie Zooms and they don't even know where to start.
I like the avatar concept that Pace did. The whole, like, figure out who you are. And really, if you don't know who you are, you can just pick something and go and try that. But he also says commit for 90 days and really give it what for 90 days. And it's okay if that's not what you're going to end up being, but now you have the experience and now you know for sure. If you try 10 things at once, you don't know if you're any of those things because each one drew away from the others. So do one thing and fail definitely. It's better to fail with definity on one thing than to try and like maybe this worked, maybe it didn't. I don't know what caused this one to fail. Like that uncertainty is way worse than the certainty of I'm definitely not this. Next. And some of those are more expensive to try out than others. And so depends on how capitalized you are. Figure out, are you a buyer? Are you a wholesaler? Are you a connector, a visionary? Like a visionary is kind of a hard thing to do if you're not capitalized or you don't have other resources. So you may have to take on a secondary role in order to get that stuff done. But I know plenty of people who want to start wholesale operations when really their money and time was best spent. Let me just evaluate deals and pick ones to buy into my portfolio because that's the mode I'm in. I've got a full-time W-2 and all this stuff. So that should be pivotal for a lot of new people trying to figure out what to do. Figure out what role you want to play in this empire. Look at the big picture, choose one and run it for a while. And if you love it, great. If you don't, finish 90 days and determine what you loved and hated and look at the rest. Now that you've got all this extra experience, now look at the rest and pick another one.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful because when I first started, I was, trying to do the wholesaling thing and like, I didn't like it. I didn't love it. I didn't want to do it. You know what I mean?
I do not want to start a wholesale operation. I feel like I feel like I'm going to have to, but I don't want to.
And I had the W-2 and everything. I'm like, I can't be calling all these people during the day. Like I have a job that, I've got to be at my job and be focused and present there. So I quickly realized I wanted to be a buyer and then why not use retirement money from when I've changed jobs and put that to use as a PML? And so that's like my secondary thing. And I'm in a good place now and finally feeling like I'm focused. And it just took a while to get there. It took about a year.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much most of the questions I wanted to ask you there, Caleb. I mean, I really appreciate you spending the time with me today and going through your company.
Well, I don't know a whole lot about you either. So tell me how some of the same questions. How did you get into sub-2 and when and why?
Yeah. So my background is emergency department nursing. I did that for a while, and then I did emergency department management for a while. I went through COVID and it was pretty rough. And I'm like, I'm kind of feeling kind of burned out from the ED side, but I don't feel like I have a lot of time to learn something. So my first thing I did was, okay, I need to find a job where I have a little bit more mental bandwidth. So I changed jobs. I'm still in healthcare, still managing nursing departments. It's a little bit more focused and not as chaotic as ED. It's like dialysis and apheresis, that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And okay, now I've got some extra bandwidth mentally. What can I learn? So I started reading some books and, went to a couple meetups and things like that. Got into Bigger Pockets, went down that rabbit hole, did a couple boot camps. And then I did the boot camp the one and only that Pace is probably ever going to do with that Bigger Pockets, Creative Finance one. And from there, okay, somehow I got into Pace's funnel and I started getting emails about Gator. Right. Okay. So I jumped down one of those and I'm like, this sounds pretty cool. And really, I think part of me, you should just join sub-2 and let's dip my toes in Gator. Try that for a while. So I did that and did some loans and, I liked it, but I was like, I actually want to own properties. I don't just want to lend on properties. So I guess I'll bite the bullet. And last Christmas, that was what I did. I called up, I think it was Caroline Allen, said, I'm going to use you for a referral code. And so I joined sub-2 in January. And yeah, I just started consuming and trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? So I did the whole thing, made all the mistakes of get a CRM, buy a dialer, get a list and patch leads and all this. So I don't have any of that stuff. I have a CRM, but I use it for relationship building mostly.
Yeah.
But and then
that explains the automated follow-up text you keep sending me.
Oh yeah. And then I started stumbling along and still felt kind of unfocused. And I was on a daily dial one morning and Creighton was on there and he mentioned,
does everybody who's going to watch this know what the daily dial is?
Probably not. So
That's probably worth explaining.
So daily dial is really cool. It happens, there's a West Coast and East Coast every morning. And occasionally I think there's a night one. I think that's a couple times a week. And you can just go on there, ask questions, and you can actually role play. Like you're calling the seller or you're calling, or you're a wholesaler calling the seller or whatever kind of thing you want to role play. Maybe you're pretending you're door knocking or foreclosure. It could be anything. And they'll help you. There's like experts on there that've been through it. So this particular one on a Thursday was Creighton, and Creighton's very mindset focused, right? So, and he mentioned that he does coaching. So, I followed up with him independently, and I started doing some coaching with him, and he really got me to drill down, what I wanted to focus on, and the things like, cut out all the noise and just focus on one thing for now. And I did that, and lo and behold, he was going to do a kind of a cohort partnership with Jesse Stanton.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. Because I had talked to, I think, Ellen, who works with Jesse previously, and I didn't bite the bullet at that time, but then I already knew Creighton, and Creighton's like, okay, if he's going to be a part of it, it's going to be good. So I joined it, and so I've been working with Jesse. I did this last cohort. I think it's the last one he's going to do live, actually. And really great community in there, and really got me to focus even more. And from there, I'm just focusing on buy and hold. I was looking for an operations manager and all that, but just this week, I've decided to partner up with another member in that community, and she's kind of 10 steps ahead of me already. She was from a previous cohort, and yeah, I'm really excited because she's got the operations manager in place, and she's got like a clear plan, and I'm totally on board with it. Like, it's kind of exactly the same thing I wanted to do with pad splits and everything. So I feel like I found my finally. Yeah.
Dude, Daily Dial is a mentorship in and of itself. And that would have been worth the price of admission. If you want to be a wholesaler and you're not in sub 2, the Daily Dial 5 days a week for 4 hours every day literally pays for the cost of the mentorship.
Sure.
Unreal.
Yep. And
I spent a lot of time with that.
You're not even calling, like, well, sometimes they do call real sellers, but
it's a safe place to fail. And that's the idea, is like, learn from other people, learn from experienced people, practice with your peers. It's okay to know nothing. It's okay to make mistakes, and learn how to get on the phone and talk to people and negotiate and ask questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It like unparalleled. There's nothing like it that I know of. Classroom learning and Kajabi learning and all these things, there's nothing like that live interactive practice session Zoom role playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the value from what's offered from sub 2 alone. And then if you're in Gator as well, and just so much, like, you just kind of, that's the thing, choose your adventure, but you also need to focus at some point. And yeah, but the value, you get way more than you pay for.
Yeah, absolutely. Sub 2 is, that's the only mentorship I joined, and what a lucky stab.
Yeah.
I didn't pay for any other programs. I'm constantly dissatisfied. I can see that I'll be dissatisfied with other stuff. I'm like, no. And like Pace says, the only reason I would join something else now is to get in the room with the certain people that are in there.
Yeah. Just for the networking. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I'm very lucky to have found it. And yeah, I haven't even met Pace yet, but he's supposed to interview me in December.
Oh, good. Very good.
Be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll meet him for the first time.
I've stayed at his house and all those things. So I'm sub 2. I joined sub 2 Mastermind in June of 22. And then I also joined Owners Club. And so I'm not in Gator. I'm not in Top Tier. I taught TC before Top Tier existed. And then they started a paid mentorship. So it's a separate thing. But sub 2 is the only thing I'm in, I guess, and Owners Club, if you want to call that separate from sub 2. But I feel really like that's sub 2 2.0.
Yeah, for sure.
More for business owners than just real estate operators.
There's only like 400 of you in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Robert Harden, he's in that.
It's also kind of freaking expensive. So
yeah,
got to make sure it's worth it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Sure it is.
But yeah, getting in the room with those people and getting away from my business, like, it forces me to go to retreats 2 or 3 times a year, and I don't get out enough. So as a business owner, it's good for me to push. And even still, I feel like I don't have a lot of peers because people are running different businesses than me. So from business to business owner, I need that accountability of somebody else who's like doing the daily grind and then taking on the easy tasks rather than the important tasks.
Right.
Because I'm guilty of that every day.
Is there any random business that you're like totally unrelated to anything you're doing that you're interested in buying?
Unrelated? No. Related? Title company.
Okay.
I'd love to buy a title company branch and run that and grow that. Dude, in high school, if I could start a paintball field, absolutely. I used to run one at my parents' house. They have some woods, like 11 acres plus some extra that a neighbor doesn't use.
Yeah.
And I took my grandpa's chainsaw, went out into the woods, and I cut stuff that was already down. And I would cut it and stack barriers. And even back when you go back to playing Halo where you had custom maps, like I was the guy who could design good maps and
Yeah.
good game layouts. I just have an eye for balance. I just played a game with my kids, and there's like this one power up, and I'm like, that totally unbalances the game. It's not even fun. I can't even stand it. And they're starting to come around to that. They're like, yeah, it actually is pretty annoying. They always love it, but it's like, you have to do something to
Thanks for
compensate.
pointing that out, Dad.
So I've always had that eye for things and setting up balance all the way back. And so created paintball fields. In the woods, though, that's really hard because you've got like a slope, or one side got these land features that make it unfair to the other side. And so how do you balance the fields? Well, maybe the location and layout, or you move the center of the field a little further back or forward so that it is a dynamic, fun experience. And so I used to love running those games and being the organizer. I would still love to go run games. I love that stuff. So
Cool.
I don't know.
Maybe
There's my unrelated business.
Yeah, you could do it, right? Yeah. Once you get all these businesses up and going, and
That'll be my passion one, the one that I really love doing.
Yeah. Like, where's Caleb? I don't know. He's playing paintball again. He's
Taking people off the field for being jerks. They're like, who are you? I'm like, I own the place. Get out. You cheated.
Cool. Awesome. Are you all ready for the holidays now?
No, I just drive.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a yes. Yes, I just drive.
You ready to drive?
Yeah. We've got 4 kids, so my wife has all these plans she's organizing with people, and I'm like, if you put them on the electronic calendar, I'm down. I'll figure it out. I can work with you. But she works it out with people on text, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to track all that.
No.
So, she's telling me what we're going to do, and I'm like, just tell me 30 minutes before what to wear and where we're going, and I'll drive us there.
Sounds like a plan. Awesome. All right. Well, man, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot about you, dude, and your company. And where can people find you?
Yeah, good question. By the way, if you have any questions about creative finance in general, a deal, a tentative deal, anything like that, creativetc.io, my website, has a button on the top, Join Virtual Office Now. My 13 people work in a live Zoom all day, every day with breakout rooms, and I have a receptionist on duty at all times, 9 to 5 Central. So you can pop in to my virtual office Zoom and say, hey, I've got a question. Can I talk to somebody? We'll throw you in a little breakout room, and we'll send somebody in to chat with you. That's free. That's anytime.
And that's for anybody, not just sub 2 people?
Yeah, anybody. I mean, you probably can't be asking us about nuclear fission, but the idea, if it's real estate and especially creative finance related, we're here to help you.
Wow. That's amazing.
So there's that. And then the other piece is you can find me on, I think Instagram is probably my most prolific, but I am posting on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. But Instagram is F. Caleb Christoper. Like Frederick is my first name legally. So F. Caleb Christoper on Instagram. And I've got several thousand followers, and I've been posting regularly on there.
Great. All right. I'm going to add you to my, I don't know if you may already be on there, but if not, I'll add you for sure.
Right on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Have a good rest of your night. Take care.